Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
AITA for exposing my parents' favoritism. My parents have always favored my younger brother. I was by no means unloved, but it was blatantly obvious who they cared about more. I worked a part-time job to get my first car, but my brother got one as a present. It wasn't new, but was much newer than my car. It was the same with just about anything else like clothes, video games, and cell phones. I'm 18 and I'm taking a gap year before community college to work a full-time job and save money for tuition. But a while back, I heard my parents talking about how much they were going to pay for my brother's tuition. I secretly recorded the conversation from around the corner and then came out asking my parents why they were going to pay for my brother's college but not mine. They didn't notice my phone was recording and just said that my brother needs more help. I asked how so when I wasn't getting any sort of scholarship and he likely wouldn't either. Then I asked a few more questions about why things have always been this way. They got mad and my father told me that perhaps it's time I moved out because they are sick of keeping a roof over my head. I pointed out I pay rent, but they didn't care. I left the room and in a fit of rage uploaded the video to 2 different social medias I have and ranted about how this is how my parents have always been. Well, a few hours my parents were pounding at my door. My dad was screaming at me about how I made them look bad. We fought some more and they left the room fuming. My grandparents contacted me later and said they were appalled, then came to visit with a lot of the family the next day. There was a huge family intervention and my parents were made to sit on the couch and look at their feet while being told off. It was then I found out they'd been receiving money for years from my grandparents to help with family expenses. My brother looked like he didn't know what to do, so he sided with the rest of the family and said he's noticed how I'm treated as well. My parents gave me a huge apology that sounded forced. My grandparents have offered that I come live with them soon and will cut off the monthly payments to my parents. My father told me I should have never told the rest of the family and now won't talk to me, and my mother has been crying for days. So I'm starting to wonder if I went too far. So AITA for exposing my parents' favoritism. Update 1. Update AITA for exposing my parents' favoritism. I decided to go ahead and call my grandparents to accept their offer to move in. During the phone call, I asked them why there was monthly payments being sent to my parents. Turns out my parents were living beyond their means for a while because my mother quit her job to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. My grandparents decided to help out by sending them money monthly to help with my parents' mortgage and also to set aside some of that money for college savings for both my brother and I that was to be split evenly. Turns out my parents only planned to put that savings towards my brother's college, and that's also how they bought his car as well. So from now on, my parents are now on their own financially. Likely my mother will have to go back to work to help my dad keep up the mortgage. I confronted my parents and asked why they've always treated my brother as the favorite, then asked if there was something I needed to know. Turns out there was nothing. Literally nothing. I'm not an affair baby. Not even an unplanned pregnancy. They just like my brother more. I was mad as hell and we argued a lot before I left the room because I'd had enough. My grandparents showed up on Saturday with a moving truck. My parents were floored when we started bringing in boxes to pack. My father got in our way and I reminded him how he said that I should move out, so I am. My mother cried some more and said that my father was just angry in the moment when he said that and they had been counting on my rent money to help with my brother's college fund. I asked if that meant he would never have to pay rent like I did when he turns 18. My father then said that since I was taking a gap year to work, then my rent money could help my brother, which means they never intended for him to get a job while going to college. My grandpa was enraged and confronted my father, saying he raised him better than this. He chewed him out, saying he's never been more disappointed in him, and they will no longer receive any more financial support. Then said he'd disown them both if they ever tried to retaliate against me for exposing them. My father backed down, and neither he or my mother said another word to me. I had a bit of an awkward conversation with my brother as we said our goodbyes to each other, and that was it. I just got in my car, waved, and drove off. I'm now fully moved into my new room at my grandparents' house. It's a little smaller, but nice, and my grandparents are very welcoming. I'm going to keep working hard to move forward from here, and I appreciate everyone's support. Story 2. Has my boyfriend slept with this woman, or is she just really desperate? My boyfriend and I met roughly 3 years ago. We were casual, as in seeing other people, for the first year, after which I agreed to be his girlfriend after being asked out numerous times by him. That first summer, about 6 months after we met, he took me to a pool party at his friend's place. They are a married couple with 2 young boys. I instantly noticed a vibe between my boyfriend and the wife. Let's call her Sandra. At one point, she put on a 90s R&B song on a portable speaker and said, "Tim, this is for you." The song lyrics went something like, "Nobody will love you like I do." As the song played, she slathered sunscreen all over her body as my BF watched. I was at a distance, watching them. At the time, because I didn't have any feelings for him, I thought to myself, these two used to bang and moved on. And as my BF and I got serious, I started noticing things between him and Sandra more. The next summer, when we were already official, year one of dating, we once again visited their house for my BF birthday party, which they hosted. When it was time to get the cake, I had to go get it in the basement and Sandra followed me. Down there, she leaned her arm against the wall in a blocking fashion and started literally interrogating me with questions. How old are you? Does Tim want to have kids? What are your plans? I was very put off by this, but being at least 11 years younger than her and also in her house, I thought I'd just be courteous and answer the questions. She finally let me pass her when she got the answer she wanted. That same summer, we visited them one night for Canada Day. All of us got tipsy, and at one point I was sitting in between my BF and Sandra, BF to the right of me and Sandra to the left. At one point, Sandra leaned over me, poked her hand into my BF chest and said, "Tim, look at me." "No, look at me. I love you." He didn't respond and seemed uncomfortable, but for some reason I think he didn't respond only because I was there. It's odd because just recently I had a conversation with my BF about what he thinks love is. He's never said he loves me, by the way, but I have told him that I do, and he pointed to his chest, the same place that Sandra poked that night, and said, "It's just a feeling. You can't describe it." So he's never told me he loves me, but his best female friend has poked him in his chest one time saying those exact words to him, and now he's showing me that gesture. Odd. Still that same summer, she and her family, husband, and 2 kids randomly showed up at our house one Sunday. My BF was showing her the upstairs floor when I barely heard her say, so this is the part where I pretend that I haven't seen this before. To my knowledge, she has never been in our house. It's also important to note that she's been married 10 plus years. Again, a little odd to hear that. Also, there was a moment of silence upstairs, and then she apparently went into our bathroom, and the BF came back down. When he came down, he very subtly licked his lips. Not enough for anyone else to notice, but I did fast forward to this summer, year 2 of us being official. We came to their house yet again for another pool party. There she looked visibly uncomfortable being around me, and I could hear her talking trash about me with all her female friends. Things like, I can't figure out if she's old or young, and other things that made all the females that day steer clear of me. She always seems insecure around me, but this time she seemed extra insecure. Also, after numerous fights about her, I noticed my BF behaved very differently around her. Barely gave her the time of day, which seemed to bother her, as she continuously tried to grab his attention. His attention was directed onto me. I thought to myself, finally he's behaving how he's supposed to. It only took 3 years. I have a friend like Sandra myself, let's call him Tony. Tony and I have known each other for 12 plus years, and we've also hooked up a couple of times. Every time we're around each other, we have the exact same vibe, comfortable with inside jokes and lots of sexiness. I will note that before we ever hooked up, our flirting was even more through the roof, much like Sandra's is with my BF. It was relentless. I'm mentioning this because maybe my BF and Sandra just have lots of sexual tension that has been building for years. My question is, do you guys think my BF and Sandra have hooked up, want to hook up, or has he always just paid her lots of attention and isn't now since he has a long-term GF, which bothers her? He has never had a GF for longer than 6 months. I am his first serious relationship. I am also 11-12 years younger than my BF and all of his friends, including Sandra.